Kia Shvarim Trua Kia Shvarim Trua Kia Shvarim Kia Shvarim Kia Shvarim Kia Trua Kia Shvarim Kia
My name is Jack Listopad. I was in the concentration camp Auschwitz-Birkenau, and I have the number 75,170. I was in 10 camps. My father, mother, and a little girl, they went to a separate camp, but they were executed.
And what would you like to tell the people of today about Iran and about Israel?
It's only one country where Jewish people can be saved. But this did not happen. The nuclear weapon should be destroyed. He is a terrorist. He doesn't believe at what a Holocaust. If I can meet him and I'll tell him what he knows and I'll tell him what I know. I have proof. They cut one of my testicle out.
Do you think that the two-state solution will lead to peace with the Arab world?
No, they're not interested to make peace. They're interested to wipe out Israel. The way it's now, there cannot be peace. They have to be more civilized. The children are taught in the schools they hate the killer Jews. The root has to be destroyed from the hate. That's what I have. That's what I went to the concentration camp because of hate. They killed all my family because we were Jews. So long this is what will happen, it's not going to be peace. Now, if it will be a two-state solution, peace solution, it is not going to. It will not solve the problem. It will be the destruction of Israel.
As their armies advanced across Europe, the Allies found thousands of people imprisoned in camps. They encountered piles of corpses and thousands of skeletal prisoners on the verge of death from malnutrition and disease.
This was their first encounter with the horror of what would come to be known as the Holocaust.
they began to understand that the Nazis had committed atrocities against civilians, the vast majority of them Jews, on an unimaginable scale, and that these atrocities were very different from the deaths caused by conventional warfare. A new category of crime had to be recognized to describe the intentional attempt to destroy a people. This crime came to be known as genocide. The soldiers were the very first outside witnesses of the Holocaust, an unprecedented case of genocide.
The testimonies of the first soldiers who entered the camps, known as the Liberators, are important eyewitness accounts of the mass atrocities committed against the Jews of Europe by the Nazis and their collaborators. Hardened combat veterans, the American GIs were used to death. Many had been fighting for years, but they had never seen killings of civilians on the massive scale they discovered. Their first encounters with Holocaust survivors at this unique moment in time give us an essential and intensely human perspective on the difference between military war and genocide.
Leon Bass was 20 years old and was among the first U.S. soldiers to arrive at Buchenwald.
I can never forget that day, because when I walked through that gate, I saw in front of me what I call the walking dead. I saw human beings that had been beaten, had been starved, had been tortured. They'd been denied everything. They had skeletal faces with deep-set eyes. Their heads had been clean shaved, and they were standing there and they were holding on to one another just to keep from falling. I saw the clothing of little children, the little children that didn't survive. Up against the wall, there were mounds of clothing. I saw the caps, sweaters, the stockings, the shoes, but I never saw a child.
Harry Mogen was a Jewish refugee from Nazi persecution. He reached the United States and became a soldier and a liberator.
And you saw women on the floor, on wooden pallets. When I say women, you saw skeletons. Rags hanging on them, no shoes. Bones instead of faces, and the stench was so horrible. It's hard to describe.
What the American soldiers found at Ohrdruf, a subcamp of Buchenwald, was so grisly that General Dwight D. Eisenhower, then the Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force in Europe, together with Generals Patton and Bradley, arrived to inspect the camp for themselves. After his visit, Eisenhower cabled,
"The things I saw beggared description. The visual evidence and the verbal testimony of starvation, cruelty, and bestiality were so overpowering as to leave me a bit sick. I made the visit deliberately in order to be in a position to give first-hand evidence of these things if ever, in the future, there develops a tendency to charge these allegations merely to propaganda."
These words are now engraved on the wall of the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C.
Eisenhower's eyewitness testimony reveals that what he saw at Ohrdruf left a powerful impression. Eisenhower foresaw the problem of disbelief that could fuel the denial of atrocities committed by the Nazis and their collaborators. He emphasized that he purposely witnessed these horrors so that no one would later be able to deny what he saw with his own eyes. Eisenhower was convinced that the world needed to know. He made sure that members of Congress and journalists were brought to see the camp. He had all nearby soldiers whose units were not on the front lines visit as well, writing, "We are told the American soldier does not know what he is fighting for. Now, at least, he will know what he is fighting against."
Bye.